when my wife and I started looking for dogs a couple years ago. We thought about several different breeds, and we kind of wanted some guardian dogs. You know, we've got the cattle, we've also got the chickens at free range, and we've had a lot of problems with fox getting our chickens. And so we decided to look at the different guardian dogs. Looked at, Great Pyrenees, several different breeds, thought about German Shepherds, but we ended up settling on some Anatolian Shepherds. We knew that Anatolians have a tendency to patrol. Pyrenees will patrol, and one thing about the breeds is that as they mature, they will patrol larger and larger areas. And we've got a big spot here on the farm, but we've also got some roadways with some pretty high traffic nearby. So we really wanted to teach the dogs to kind of stay around the house. So we looked around and we tried a few different things, but we ended up deciding to go with some GPS wireless fence training collars. And I'm about to go get my boys out, and I'm gonna show y'all kind of how that works. We tried a few different brands of collars. Here are the collars that I actually use. These are My Pet Command. It's the second generation of these collars, and I like these collars because they're pretty straightforward. You can see here, if I can get it focused in. So I'm currently 78 yards from where I have these collars zeroed. You can set the point. You can set the point where the collars zero. You can see as far as accuracy, I set these in the same point. So one of these collars is saying 71, 72, the other one's saying 77. So there's 5 yards discrepancy between the two, but overall, they hold it pretty well, and it's easy to adjust. And I believe you can adjust these out to about 1,000 yards. So we're going to go down and get the boys and put them on. Now, another thing about us deciding to go with these Anatolian Shepherds and guardian dogs is that here a few years ago we had a neighbor who decided that he was going to start breeding what they refer to as wolves, and he doesn't do a very good job of keeping his young wolves in. Several people have lost cats and other small pets, but with us being out here on the farm, and he's he's probably he's probably a mile or so down the road, as crow flies, but not very far from wolves. We've actually caught them on game cam on the property. So having the kids out running around playing, I just wanted something that I could feel confident about looking out for them. And as it turns out, the Anatolian Shepherds are actually they were bred in the Anatolian Mountains of northern Turkey to guard sheep against wolves. Now those were Turkish wolves. They weren't like the Canadian wolves, the gray wolves, or anything that we have here. They're a little bit smaller, but I think that they'll do just fine against anything that's being bred local. So that's another reason for going with the livestock guardians, because I decided that if the neighbors were going to raise wolves, that I might as well have some wolf dogs. And one thing that I learned actually after we got the dogs, I didn't know this before, but interesting side note is that the Anatolian Shepherd actually has the most powerful bite ever recorded by a canine. So here I am at the gate, and I'm going to see if I can call them up. I'll tell you one thing about the Anatolian Shepherds is they do not like the Alabama heat. So by this time of day, they've usually found a cool spot to get laid up, and they're probably laying somewhere just watching over these calves. But I'm going to see if I can call them up, and I'll kind of show you how this works. Come on, boys. Come on. Oh yeah, here they come. They were actually laid up in this old goat barn in the shades. Yeah, so we'll get them over here and get the collar on. Alright, so Luke's here. He's ready to get his collar on and get out for the day. He likes to roam around, spend more time at the house. Come on. Luke's the more domesticated of our two. Come on, boy, let's get your collar on. So we're gonna get this on him and then we'll see if we can get Bo. All right, we got Luke's collar on. We're gonna go ahead and let him out. Come on, bud. You can head on out for the day. Come on, it's okay. Out you go. Go on. Good boy. So, people told me that, here comes Bo. People told me that I wouldn't be able, come on, Bobo. People told me that you couldn't train Anatolians with a collar because when they were so minded, they would just run through it. And that hasn't really been the case as I've found. Now, it took about a month to train these guys when I first decided to do it. I trained them every day. I'd get them out, walk them around, teach them the boundaries. And then slowly, you know, I at first added the beep. You know, I started with some flags, right? So I kind of showed them where their boundaries were, had them on leash. And then I added the beep. So with these things, you have the option of beep, vibrate, and then it shocks. And with the Anatolians having such a thick coat, you can see there that I've got some really long electrodes on there. And typically that's all it needs. But if I can get Bobo to come on over here, he's thinking about going back to his shade. Come on, Bobo. Come on, boy. Come on. Bo's my alpha dog, but he's particularly adverse to the heat. But if I can get him to head on over this way, I'll show you as we get over here. Hey, buddy. You can see that, that Bo's got another collar on there. So that's actually a GPS tracking collar because these collars that I'm putting on him here now, they don't have the GPS tracking. So the training collars, you know, they're GPS, but they don't allow you to track them. So I had to buy a separate collar for tracking, and I keep that on Bo because he's my alpha. So typically Luke's not going to leave his brother, and you know, there's been 2 or 3 times where for whatever reason, maybe they were after a fox, I don't know, they did break out of the boundary. It's rare, and I actually have another manual collar that I can put on them sometimes that it's got about a 1/4 mile range. So if I happen to be around and I get the alert or something that they broke out, then I can actually usually get them back with that. But that's the reason that I don't leave them out at night, because I don't want them to come up, you know, missing and me be asleep and not know it. So we'll get the collar on him and get him out. So there they go, ready to start their day. Now probably what's going to happen is Bo's going to go up here and lay down under this big shade tree where he can keep an eye on his herd here that he's been watching over for the past couple of weeks. And Luke, well, it looks like he may be cutting over the shade tree too, but Luke likes to come up to the house, and he'll typically get somewhere that he can keep an eye on these calves, but he can also keep an eye on the rest of the herd, and he'll watch over the chickens. And if the girls or any of the kids are outside playing, he'll watch over them. So, you know, like I said, he's a lot more domesticated. He tends to spend a lot more time with people, but there you go. So 2 Anatolian Shepherds trained on GPS collars. I'm satisfied with the results. Like I said, you know, I can't tell you they're 100%. They do break out occasionally, but I will say that the second generation of collars on the my pet command collars that I've got, I had the first generation, and with the first generation, I feel like they probably did get out and roam around more. Hey, Bobo. But the second generation has been pretty solid. It seems like the GPS on them is more solid. They've got a pretty good, hey Luke, you gonna come up to the house with us? They've got a pretty good hold, and they do pretty good in the woods. I haven't found anything that does great in the woods. I typically try to set it so that they don't get very far into the woods. But you know, if you have any questions, you know, hit me up in the link below, and I'll be putting up more videos about our little homestead here. And I hope that if you like the video, you'll subscribe, and have a great day.